It's really remarkable to be able to follow presenters and companies that are doing very much similar of a profile of work that we're doing here in Zacatecas, but looking for big systems, looking for testing big systems and testing. We're using our geologic advantage and knowledge of Mexico and delivering very high grade results throughout the country, and of course then delivering results for the country of Mexico, but the states that we're working in. Our company, Defiance Silver, we have 2 projects in Mexico. We have our Zacatecas district projects, and we have our Topal projects. I'm going to really focus on the Zacatecas projects right now because of the work that we've been doing over the last 18 months, which has really been focused on drilling mineral systems, taking what we know about Mexico, taking what we know what works, and then testing it with drill holes. So Defiance Silver has a very robust resource base. We have over 1.8 million ounces of gold measured and indicated, about a billion pounds of copper, but as well a pretty significant expansion potential in our silver assets in Zacatecas. And we saw that pretty early, and that's why we've been focused quite actively or aggressively in the Zacatecas district. And that really is augmented with our team of people that we have working with us. So we have about 200 years of cumulative experience working in Mexico. We've taken small projects through to M&A and then mine development. Our senior geologists have been involved with taking about 1 billion ounces of silver and putting through mills in Mexico. Like any precious metal company, we have a strong leverage to commodity prices, but we do have this underlying price sensitivity at Topal, but this resource upside in Zacatecas where we have almost all the infrastructure in place to take what could be nominally a small project, but you can run them through the mills. There's over 25,000 tons of milling capacity within 50 kilometers of the asset. About 35, almost 40% of the shareholder base is institutional and management, so really philosophically aligned with what we want to do with the company. And we're drilling. We've done 3 drill campaigns in the last year. We're about to start another one in the next 12 months, in the next 2 weeks. I expect that we'll start to see some results coming up from the last campaign in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Like everybody, we have been absolutely rocked by the financial markets. That doesn't mean that as a business case we have failed. We have about $11.7 million in cash in the bank. We had over $3 million of warrants that were exercised in the last month. We extended warrants that were expiring in the last year, expiring in the next week, over a year, and we're fully financed for our exploration programs for the next 12 to 18 months, and we can augment whether we want to ramp up or ramp down. We did do our 2 financings at very interesting times in the sector, where we financed there and then we financed there. So we did hit the top of the market, and so minimum dilution financing, and that's led to very successful exploration campaigns. So Zacatecas. Arguably the world's most important jurisdiction for primary silver mining. Lauren and Lauren's family and the people that have been exploring in Zacatecas for the last 50 years understand the generational wealth that can be created from true exploration discoveries in a part of the world that has seen a paucity of modern exploration. So we're about 35 kilometers away from Fresnillo. That's the world's largest primary silver mining complex. Right next to that is Mag Silver and Fresnillo's Juanicipio joint venture. That will be the world's largest primary mine in the next 6 months. That was an exploration discovery in 2003. Fresnillo was out of ore in the 1960s. That's the world's largest primary silver mine to date. In 1975, they found the Santo Niño vein after about 15 years of exploration. Up until the time that they found the Santo Niño vein, the Zacatecas district had produced more silver than the Fresnillo camp. When exploration got flipped over and started to be focused in that core landholding by Peñoles and Fresnillo and then Mag Silver in the early 2000s, that switched the lights off on exploration in Zacatecas. And we think that we are probably the most aggressive company drilling in the Zacatecas district, testing what we know about these tier 1 silver deposits in this camp. So we're in the same crustal position of Fresnillo. We have same age of mineral systems, and our proof of concept has been proven by companies taking exploration strategy, exploration concepts, and taking them into tier 1 silver deposits. And we'd like to think that that's what we're doing right now. And what we know is that discovery-focused geoscience works. It works for us. It works for Reina. It works for everybody who's doing it in Mexico the right way, is having spectacular results. And our next door neighbor is Capstone's Cosamine mine, and you look at them, they're 1,300 meters into a mineral system. We're right next door, we're about 400 meters into ours. So we know that proof of concept works, but when you can find it, you can take it into production. So we've often focused on the Veta Grande. And we're still focused on the Veta Grande. Veta Grande is one of the most important vein systems in Mexico. It's historically produced about 200 million ounces of silver, which on one vein system is more than the entire Tonopah district combined. And it was one of the most important mines of the Spanish Empire. It shut down production in the 1970s. As I said, the Fresnillo discoveries at Santo Niño and then subsequently some of the other veins in the area really did flip the focus over to the Fresnillo camp, which is about 35 kilometers away from here. But what we recognized was that the Veta Grande has the expansion potential. I'll talk about that in a second. But what we know is that in order to have a district-scale discovery, you need to have a district. And so the first thing that we did in about 2019, early 2020, was lace up as much of this district as possible. So we acquired first we acquired the Lagartos property, which is on strike from Cozamin, from Mag Silver, and then we acquired a 1,300 square kilometer database from Mag Silver. And then we combed through that database and we looked for where was the highest grade drilling in this district and where could nobody explore before. And that led to the Lucita acquisition and the Central Lucita license area, which is what we've just been recently drilling. And that's quite important because it was the one piece of ground, about 20 square kilometers, that nobody had done any work on, nobody had done any exploration, and there was no capability of getting permits to drill in this area. Fortunately, because of our about 10-year operating history in the San Nicasio license area, the San Mejito had the San Mejito Fraccionamento was who we had to negotiate with to get the licenses for the Lucita project. It took us about 6 weeks to get a drill hole onto that property. So we were able to be agile. We were able to recognize where could you go in the district, and then subsequently we drilled the highest grade drill hole in the Zacatecas district in about 20 years, which was 10 times the cutoff grade of the first drill hole into the Juanicipio project. What we see in this district and what I think everybody who's doing good exploration globally is to recognize where are you in the mineral system. You can't find mineralization outside of your fingerprint of the mineral system. So postage stamp where you are, test that system. So we did a trace element geochemistry survey over the entire district. We have done TerraSpec studies over the entire district, and then we've been drilling those. And our first drill hole into this property was 3 meters of 500 grams per ton silver. So it did work out for us, and it did show that there was a lot of strength in the system. And that drill hole is about 200 meters away from the portal that was the main haulage level into the San Nicasio mine. So it's not as if we're going way away from where we saw the potential to expand on the resource area. So our two-pronged approach in Zacatecas is expand on the main San Nicasio Veta Grande vein system, look for 50 million ounces there, and then go into the district and find the productive structures and test them, looking for 100 million ounces of silver in this very productive, very prolific mining district. A few things happened after we acquired this license. So we've been really focused on the San Nicasio area, the Lucita Central area, but up in the north, a really quality team of explorers have been drilling on our property boundary, Zacatecas Silver. Their highest grade drill hole is on our property boundary, and those vein systems look like they are continuing onto our property area. We're sitting on the shoulders and watching what's going on, but it does offer this optionality on what could be the exploration potential outside of the main Lucita area and then the Veta Grande vein system itself. And when Pan American drilled it in the early 2000s, it did come back with some pretty good grade and pretty good widths as well. But really, the backbone of what we're doing here is expanding on known resources and then augmenting it with exploration discoveries. So we've got the exploration discoveries covered. News came out early August. We made a new discovery in this land package, shows that we think we understand what is going on with the control of mineralization on some of these narrower, higher grade veins. And it's not too dissimilar. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel of what the previous explorers, Mag Silver, Capstone, Fresnillo, has done in this district before. But the Veta Grande vein system is one of the most important vein systems in Mexico. It's a historical 200 million ounce silver producer. There is 6-inch slabs of silver in Naples, Italy, on altars and churches that came from this district. Hernan Cortez's illegitimate son-in-law found this vein system. He probably tripped over it in the early 1500s. Because it is a 500-year-old mining camp, it comes with incredible amount of infrastructure. You drive to the property on paved roads. There's high-tension power lines on the property. You have about 40 kilometers of underground infrastructure on the main Veta Grande itself, but also comes with that history of production, and that's not to be understated. That history of production is very important. What is your metallurgical returns, and what can you do with this ore other than get sunk in a ship off the coast of Spain? The workforce is not to be understated in this part of the world. Fresnillo has developed a mining culture, but Zacatecas has also developed a mining culture, and you can see that in the ongoing development of the Cozamin mine, which is our next door neighbor. They're going to go from 3,800 tons per day to about 7,500 tons per day in the next 2 to 4 years. We'll see how long it takes to build that operation, but really just showing that they're going to double their throughput at an underground operation, and that's our next door neighbor. The resource that's in place on this, that was done in 2011, updated in 2012, and then 2014. We've done about 40,000 meters of drilling since then. We have seen at least a volume of mineralization been increased by about 300%, and that's talking about the size of the system, not the actual resource estimate increase. But we do have in-house resource modeling, and we do have a plan to increase this resource estimate. So to put that into kind of scalability, this is where the resource, 17 million ounce resource, is tabled to, and in the last 12 months, this is what we've drilled, and we have more holes that'll come out in the next couple of weeks about what we've been drilling at depth here. And what does that mean for the optionality of the project? I talk about this incredible infrastructure that we have. What can you do with a property? What does 100 grams per ton silver mean here versus what 100 grams per ton silver means in the middle of Chihuahua? So that's a high tension power line. That's an open pit mine. That's a 1,000 ton per day mining complex. All of these underground workings, they link up to that 1,000 ton per day permitted mining complex, tailings facility. The highest grade drill hole that we've drilled in the Veta Grande drills underneath the power line goes to open pit. You can drive from my apartment in Zacatecas to this drill site in about 6 minutes. Next door to this is Capstone's 3,800 ton per day expanding to 7,500 ton per day operation. So there's a lot you can do here, and of course 500 years of mining does help you in advancing it forward. What we looked at when we looked at the asset was what is controlling the mineralization in this billion-ounce silver district. Why are ore shoots occurring where they're occurring? How do we map them, and how do we test them? So it took about a year and a half. Our financial partners probably would have liked us to do it a little bit quicker, but because we spent about a year and a half understanding the controls of ore shoots, the controls of mineralization, we were able to test this, and we can hit this with about 90% accuracy, and we're still open at depth. So what we're doing here, and I'm not going to say that this thing's going to go to the center of the earth. These are epithermal systems. They do have their limit of mineralization, but what we want to do is test the limit of mineralization, test the controls of mineralization, and continue to drill at depth, because when you do have a body of mineralization, you can define where the resource is, you can define how to mine it, you can put it into that 1,000 ton per day mill that you can access from underground workings. So there's a lot of optionality. I keep talking about optionality. The other thing that we've really been focused in on is where can we go outside of this area to find these similar ore shoots or these similar mineralized units, and that's what we did with Lucita. So we acquired that from Pan American Silver. It was one of the only undrilled assets in the Zacatecas district, and our first hole came back with very high grade over mineable widths. So as Lauren said, as our peers know, in Mexico, globally, discovery-focused geoscience works, and it takes time, but it works. You got to understand where you are in the system. You got to understand why are these historical ore shoots developing where they are, identify what that means in the district, and then test them. But you need money to do that. So we've got $11.7 million in the bank. We're fully financed for our upcoming exploration programs. And I think what we're trying to do is not reinvent the wheel, but actually do what most companies with an advanced past-producing asset should be doing, adding ounces to an advanced asset. And if you look at what we've done in the last 12 months, we can demonstrate that we have about a 300% increase in volume of mineralized units. That doesn't mean we have a 300% increase in our resource estimate, but we can see that body of mineralization is there. So in the next 3 to 6 months, you can see results off Veta Grande. We're going to leapfrog back and forth between the Veta Grande and then the Lucita system, and then we'll begin to test some of these more conceptual targets that we've been working on for the last 12 months. That's the 50,000 foot view, and I'm out of time. I've got the red light here. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but thank you very much.
Thank you. No, we don't really have any time, I'm afraid. Thank you.